Bronx, Manhattan, and Staten Island, which means any small business needing tech support in these 3 boroughs can go to STAR. Okay, next slide. I didn't want to bombard you with 6 specialists, so we can go through these slides kind of quickly. Francesca covers Upper Manhattan and parts of East Harlem. This is her contact information. Next slide. Chris is Upper East Side and some parts of East Midtown. Next slide. Sorry, I'm not controlling it. Can we go to the next slide, please? Perfect. And
hello, everyone, again. Thank you so much, Natalie. Hello, everyone, again. Well, my name is Alejandro. I am a recent graduate from the Masters of Urban Planning with a concentration in economic development and housing at NYU Wagner. I speak English and Spanish, and as Natalie mentioned, I cover the Upper West Side, but also Central Harlem and Morningside Heights. I live in the Upper West Side. I know this area very well. And yeah, I have worked in the past 4 months in this area, and I have some success stories that I can share with you. For example, at 20 years old, family business, they print posters and flyers for all the New York City events. After the pandemic, they lost almost 90% of their revenue. And even though they received the PPP, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, they were having difficulties keeping open one of their locations. So they signed up to the Small Business Resource Network, and we referred him to some pro bono lawyers. He received advice, legal advice on what to do with his business, and he was able to negotiate partial payments with the landlord. He also attended a marketing webinar that we offered in the Small Business Resource Network, and now he diversified his products and services. He has included products like visual kits for conference calls, social distance displays, and now, according to him, his business is gradually making progress. So if you know any small business that is located in this area, please refer them to me. I will be very happy to assist them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alejandro. Okay, next slide. Okay, and then Sean covers West Village, Hell's Kitchen, parts of Times Square, and then the Lower East Side. And then next slide, Justin covers most of downtown. And then, Star is our tech specialist. So the type of tech support you can receive from him is you'll get free consultations and guidance on technology for your business. So websites, databases, social media, and anything tech related, he will do his best to assist with or connect you to someone who can help. And we're actually having tech office hours right now. So if you are a small business located in one of the 5 boroughs, or well, I'm sorry, for this case, it would just be Bronx, Manhattan, and Staten Island, you can scan this QR code, or we can give you this link, and you can just sign up for a 30-minute one-on-one consultation. Also, STAR's information is here too. Next slide. So how to connect small businesses to the SBRN. We do have flyers and palm cards available in 9 languages. Some community boards request that they've requested us drop off flyers. So if you're interested in that, we would be happy to. We've also seen our partners share on like social media, if you have a newsletter. And then we're also out doing outreach. We go door to door on a weekly basis. You can also, if you want to meet with Alejandro, he would be happy to, and we can coordinate that. Next slide. I also just want to let you guys know that we are giving out free face coverings. The Manhattan Chamber has free face coverings for small businesses. If you need face coverings for your employees, you can sign up for the SBRN and ask your specialist for masks, or you can just schedule a pickup by emailing the help desk at manhattancc.org, and we can get you free face masks. Next slide. All right, thank you. Sorry, this is a lot. I go really quickly, but this is all of our contact information. So if you're a business in one of these areas and you need assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out. Like I said, it's completely free to sign up. We are just trying to do what we can to help small businesses during this hard time. I do appreciate you taking the time to listen. And I think the next slide is just about questions.
Well, I have a question, Natalie. Actually, it's a question from one of our colleagues, Seema Reddy. Can we get a copy of this PowerPoint?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So you could, how would they do it, Christian? You can send it to the.
No, I have it. I have it now, so I can email it.
You just, okay, we're done. So we have that. That's great. This was awesome. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I do. I wonder, the setting bar is still up on the screen. I think someone is still sharing, and the setting bar, I'm seeing this setting bar. I'm not.
That might be your setting.
Am I the only one seeing the setting bar?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Silly me.
But it's working.
I'm sorry I joined your presentation a little late, but I got the gist of it, and I'm so impressed. I have to tell you, I've never heard of this organization before, so I realize it's relatively new. You're getting funding from the P. Peterson Foundation, which is awesome. I know Holly Peterson. So I have a couple of questions. How do you market? I mean, I know you touched on how people can get, in touch with you, and you talked about the flyers, but do you market? Do you use like NYC Link, or do you get any sort of PSAs on television, or any kind of billboards? Because it's an awesome program, and particularly at this time, it would be great if more businesses were aware of your services.
Absolutely. So we do have a small marketing budget, and we are on the Link NYCs, or we should be. I know EDC helps manage the program, so they have a lot of relationships with the city. And I know we'll be on the Link NYCs. If we're not already, we will be soon. We have paid for some marketing. We have a website that highlights a business in each borough who it's kind of like a success story. So those programs success stories were marketed, and there was dollars used for that. And we have social media. There's a press release, which I would be happy to share if someone wants our press release, because some coverage was done, but we're always open to ideas. So if you have ideas of how we could spread the word more, I would love it. I am working on presenting at every community board. We do get a lot of help from like the local bids and like other nonprofits in the area as well.
Thank you.
Seema?
Seema? You had a question?
Hi. Yeah, thank you. I was just wondering, is it, as part of your services, do you also help navigate like the PPP loans and all the other federal assistance programs?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually just got all of this. So I'm sorry I didn't say this. There's 22 specialists working on the program citywide. So they all got a training last week or maybe 2 weeks ago on the PPP and how we can help businesses navigate applying or getting a lender. But yes, absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks.
And Jeanette?
Yes. First, I just want to say I've worked with Star on numerous things, and he's amazing. So that's really great to hear he's working on this. But my question was, you said the applications were closed, but they were going to reopen. What sort of participation are you seeing from businesses in the Upper West Side?
Oh, the Upper West Side, like specifically in the grant program?
Yeah.
I don't have, so we got a few hundred applicants. I don't have the geography of each applicant specifically, but we can answer the question of like how many businesses have signed up for the SBRN. The grant is one aspect that we were offering of the SBRN, but we definitely have, Alejandro can chime in on like, there's been a handful of businesses in the Upper West Side that have applied and that are getting assistance.
Right. I have by zip code, I don't have it with me right now, but it has been hundreds of businesses engaged, and full program participants, I will say like 20 something. And actually one business in the Upper West Side won the 500 grant, the 500 grant for the website. So they are working already with that business.
Thanks, Alejandro.
Who are they? Is that okay to ask, or is it private?
We have to ask the business
We would just,
for their consent.
yeah, no problem. Just, we'd be very supportive and celebrate them.
We can definitely work on that too. Like Alejandro can reach out to see if they're interested in letting you know.
I have another question. What is the grant size?
So the SBRN is completely free to sign up. It's not actually like, wait, the grant size for the tech grant? The tech grant, oh, sorry, what?
Didn't you say that was $500 for the website?
Yes,
No,
exactly.
No, I'm not referring to the website. I thought your program includes providing financial support to small businesses. Did I get that wrong?
No, you are right. We provide financial support as in financial guidance.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All
we
right.
had the tech grant, which we did find funding for, and we are always working on finding more funding and creating more grants.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sister Raina deals with millions of dollars in grants.
Don't tell anyone, Lynn.
Okay. Wow. Any other questions, guys? This is such a great resource. We put you on our social media, and we tried to get on Link NYC, but for some reason that got all. But this is, if we asked you to come back, would you do that?
Absolutely. You guys were lovely. If you also want me to send you like social media size, I think I have social media size like flyers.
That'd be great.
Yep.
That would be great. Because I mean, we really, we need to get out the word, and we've got 3 powerful bids in this neighborhood. The former executive director of one of them is here for the Columbus Avenue bid, and then we've got the executive director of the Columbus Amsterdam bid. He's here, and I'm sure he's got something to opine on. So and inform us of. So you might want to stick around for that. But we're going to definitely put up your PowerPoint on the. Should we put that? Can we put that up on the website, Christian?
We can ask John. We can certainly put it there. Yes.
Okay, because I think that would be a great idea, and that would be a great resource for people, and it's also really attractive and easy to follow. So it's got everybody's information. Very important.
Awesome. We appreciate it so much. You guys were lovely, and if the bids or anyone wants us to do like joint outreach, we're happy to partner. We're open to ideas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are we going to see on New York 1? That's perfect spot, perfect outlet for you.
That'll be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So does anybody have any new business to discuss?
I was wondering whether we might want to invite representatives from Consumer Affairs to a future meeting to talk about plans for the summer with the restaurants, and sort of just to sort of get an overview of what we can expect in this summer, and get an update on things that they're working on the Upper West Side. I don't know the last time you had a representative from Consumer Affairs at your meeting, but I thought it might be a good idea before the restaurants. I mean, I know we're resuming indoor dining, but before the sidewalk cafe, before it gets warm, and it might be a good idea to kind of get an update on that.
That's a great idea. I mean, up to now, it's been DOT, not BCA. with the-
Yeah, it's going to continue to be DOT.
DOT, yeah.
so-
But I think it's a very good idea.
So maybe it would be good to have them both, a representative from both.
we don't need, well, we do, I can tell you right now from any, and Andrew, you can probably confirm this, and Josh, from their past activities, they probably haven't got a clue, but they don't seem to plan ahead very well. And I want to say that on the record. So.
Okay, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
No, yes, I will ask them,
That's
you know.
right,
No argument from me.
You know what? Hold their feet to the fire.
Yeah, but you know, in a more friendly way, just like the spring is coming, and can we, you know, can you share with us what you know, what the plans are? And I really have a more general question, and maybe Josh or Doug know the answer, maybe you, Linda, which is the restaurants that have created sheds in the street, are they paying the city additional money for that square footage?
No.
No. So
then the city reimbursed them, and that was DCA. The city reimbursed them for their sidewalk cafes that they had previously paid for.
Yeah, we had actually in February, I think ours were due. We had sent our money in before pandemic, and we had actually not. They didn't take it from us. We were actually pay for our sidewalk, not counting our street, which there is no fee for.
Yeah, this temporary program is at no charge to the restaurants. When the program is eventually made permanent, you know, there will be some, we imagine, fee structure for, you know, permanent or a license.
Oh, so that was the operative word, Andrew, temporary. And
yes.
What does temporary mean in this context?
That's open-ended right now.
Well, so I believe it's through the end. I believe it's through the end. I will have to double check, but I believe it is clear. It's, I think, to the end of this year, the current open restaurants program will be in effect. Right. The legislation also required that between now and that time, the city must work on developing a permanent program, which would use aspects from the current program, but take into consideration all the complexities of it being permanent. You know, this was really focused on standing it up quickly to help restaurants and workers in the communities, you know, during a state of emergency. So, you know, what kind of reviews there will be, what kind of fees there will be, where you can set up, how you can set up. You know, the roadway may be a little bit different during the winter. Clearly, if it's permanent, you have to take into more considerations about doing, you know, road work and stuff of that nature. So over the next year, they'll be developing what the permanent program will look like. And that's going to be worked out. And I presume they'll have to have some public hearings. So there may be opportunities for the community board to opine during that process.
Yeah, that's going to be really important. Some colleagues who learned that I'm on the community board have raised this issue with me that, you know, folks are paying rent for, you know, a restaurant on the side where they pay rent for their space. And now they've extended, I mean, there's a couple of restaurants, which I think you probably all have seen on the Upper West Side, that for all intents and purposes have created an indoor restaurant on the street.
Absolutely. Yeah, but again, they're not paying for sidewalk space.
And that purpose is that government mandated them to shut down, so government, you know, or reduce their occupancy. So they're trying to provide some outdoor occupancy for them.
That's not it, but I mean, but they, you know, it's different if you build a shed in the street and it's open air. What I'm talking about is that they had to shut their indoor dining and they essentially built an enclosed restaurant on the street.
Yeah.
And I've seen
that discussion last month, and you're absolutely right. And there are very, Andrew and Josh can point out, they're very strict criteria, but a lot of restaurant owners are eschewing the criteria, and I suspect SLA will come out.
Well, I just go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was just going to say, so just so I fully understood, are you saying that if it is people are saying if they are fully enclosed that they should be paying some sort of rent, or
No, well, there's sort of three issues. One issue is if this is going to be permanent, then restaurants should have to pay additional, they should have to pay for that additional square footage on the public street if this is going to become permanent. Like they can't have like an indoor restaurant, a sidewalk cafe, and a shed in the street, and the shed in the street, they pay the city nothing for that space that is essentially public space. So
Got it.
that's one issue. The
so
second,
let me address the first one and then I'll the second. So yeah, so
I'm sorry, we could put this under new business. We don't have to have this conversation tonight. I just wanted to bring it up for a future meeting.
Let Andrew answer it.
Oh, of course, sorry, of course.
Yeah, and so and I'm happy, and you can always reach out separately. I'm happy to give you any type of insight. But really quick, so yeah, so the previous traditional sidewalk cafe program, you pay two types of fees. You paid a permit like licensing fee, and then you also paid a consent fee, which is a very, very expensive one, which is essentially you're paying for square footage. It didn't always exist. They put it in. So historically, you always paid for that, and it was expensive. But for the open restaurant program, because of the crisis, because they were being restricted of their occupancy, there's no charge to participate. In a permanent program, there will be some sort of fee involved. What that fee is not finalized yet. So that's all to be determined.
Okay, great. And the reason, so that I'm really happy to hear that, and I'm pleased to hear that there will be some consideration of some sort of fee structure, if this becomes permanent. I will say this, and then I know that Doug and Josh want to speak, which is that now that indoor dining is resuming, what you have with the situation you have now is you have a restaurateur that has 3 dining spaces. They have their interior dining space.
25%. 25%.
I know.
Small footprints.
Linda, let me finish. I know it's 25%. And by the way, I'm not criticizing anyone for this. It's a pandemic. I get it. I understand. I'm very sympathetic to what I have a lot of friends who own restaurants and who are chefs. I get this. I'm just saying, moving forward, if this program becomes permanent, what you in effect have are 3 dining areas. And I want to make sure that if this program becomes permanent, that the city and the public are somehow reimbursed, because you again have taken more public space for private business. Moving forward, I'm not talking about now. I get why we're doing it now, and I'm thrilled, but I am concerned about long term.
So I would just put one note on that restaurants, as far as I know, pre-pandemic with sidewalk cafes are the only entity that actually pays rent to the city for using public space. Exception whereas like a newsstand or mobile vendors or other commercial uses don't pay for the space per se, they pay a permit licensing fee. There are some exceptions if you're like renting a physical space within a park and something, you're paying rent. But for just public uses like sidewalk, newsstands, other mobile vendors and some other setups, they traditionally just pay a permanent licensing fee versus paying rent to the city. It's only sidewalk cafes. And that's a whole conversation for another time. Yeah. There's a lot of equity issues there because often the sidewalk space is more expensive than sometimes the inside space. You have a lot of smaller businesses and other types of mom and pop businesses that have been unable to afford sidewalk cafes, which would have really helped their businesses. So it's a whole complicated issue we get into, but I imagine there'll be at least some permit licensing fee in a permanent program.
Thank you. Josh.
I said this last meeting, but I want to say it again, just to stress it, that while I would be the first to say that there are many restaurants that have sidewalk or street sheds that are not compliant with the guidelines the city has put forth, don't blame the restaurant, blame the city, because without enforcement, there's not compliance. And so these restaurants are doing every single possible thing they can to survive. And if you don't feel, not you specifically, but if anyone doesn't feel comfortable in one of these, as I call them, indoor, outdoor spaces, don't sit in them. But if you like their restaurant, get their food, pick it up, take it home, because we want to make sure these places still stay in business. And I think that's something that's really important. Now, the places that are being compliant and you want to go there and sit outside, I applaud that. And I thank you, because those are some of my places. But right now, everybody's just doing what they can to survive. And I can't even, Andrew could tell you too, but it's the most frustrating thing in the world. And so even with 25%, if your capacity is 20, you got 5 people. And really the difference between 5 and 0, it's nothing. It's not going to be able to get you to the end of the finish line, which is still in the distance. So that's my little speech about it. But I do understand your point for sure. But I just want to make my point about, that everybody's just trying to survive. And if you don't feel comfortable, don't sit there. But if you like them, get their food and take it home. That's all.
Thank you, Josh. Doug?
Well, I think Andrew and Josh covered most of what I want to say. And also, Irena obviously is very sympathetic and empathetic to this. I think that we have a major crisis, not only of life and limb, but also of businesses. And this is absolute survival mode. Any of my restaurant clients and colleagues in the neighborhood, I know very few who are thriving. And this is literally to prevent them from failing. And many, and Andrew can speak to this, that many have failed and will never come back. And when I use the word fail, not because anything to do that wasn't their fault. So, but I'm with you on the non-compliance. I've seen a lot of it, and it troubles me because I think it's very dangerous. In fact, without naming, I don't know if I mentioned this on a meeting here, but I will not mention, but this is a major operator in the city. I went to one of their cafes, and when I sat down, I was early to arrive. I noticed that there was absolutely no airflow. There was no opening whatsoever anywhere. And I very gently, sensitively said to the manager, hey, I was just wondering, where's your opening or cross ventilation? Maybe it's something I don't see. And he said, no, this is non-compliant. It is not legal. We're doing this to survive. If you're not comfortable, we understand. And it was a real conundrum because I gave him credit for being honest with me, but at the same time, it was dangerous. So, the reality is that I think, and one other thing I'll just say, even with the capacity of 25%, any restaurant will tell you that at 80 or 90%, they are not profitable. So, anyway, I think you get the point.
Thank you, Doug. Barbara Adler has her hand up.
Yeah, I just, this is also probably for the future, but my question has to do with equalization, because when sidewalk space, curb space was first made available, a number of people grabbed as much space as they possibly could, including restaurants that never had, nor were they entitled to outdoor space because they were cheek by jowl with a fire hydrant or bus stop, and all that seemed to go by the wayside. And I have nothing against restaurants setting up outside as long as they are in compliance, the points that have already been made. But I think that something will have to be done to help out the restaurants that weren't able to get space, and whereas a neighbor of theirs has 3 car lengths or more of space. So I just hope that gets addressed at some point down the line.
I think that's what Irena brought up about having DCA and DOT come. Let's invite them for the next meeting, because those are the kinds of questions that we could ask them, and they're certainly germane to the issue. Because a lot of restaurants have, it was supposed to be, represent the frontage of the restaurant, but they've extended because there was a park next door and they were able to do it. They got permission.
Yeah, so it may be premature right now. I doubt the DOT is really.
Yeah, I agree. And I know Mark is waiting to speak, but I just want to say, like,
see your hand, Mark. I'm sorry.
I'm not.
And Peter too.
I'm not critical of this program. I'm in full support of this program. I am not critical of this program.
I'm just saying it's a good idea to speak to the agencies. I
My
concur.
comment is about the future. Please don't overlook that. All I'm questioning is we as a committee should be thinking preemptively about the future. I'm not talking about now. I am thrilled those restaurants are out there. I use them. Like Doug, I am concerned about fully enclosed places with heaters, and I do think that the health committee should seriously think about writing a letter, because we should be protecting our neighbors and be very forthright about those restaurants that are not in compliance, especially with new variants of this virus going around. It's scary. It's dangerous. But I just wanted to clarify that I don't have any problems with this program right now. I'm actually thrilled this program is in place. My question is about the future. And I think
that's why we should bring in BCA and DOT. This is the time to do it. You're right. Mark Diller and Peter Arnston, how's that?
I think Peter goes first.
Okay. Peter Arnston.
Thanks. Yes, I just unmuted myself. Thank you so much. This has been a good meeting. I wanted to let you know that we are going to be going ahead with the open streets for restaurants. Right now, we've reduced it to 106 to 110. We're hoping that after the daylight savings starts up at the end of March, to either extend it down to 96th Street again, or include the section of Columbus between 110 and 106. And we're in discussions with the police and with DOT on it, but it remains to be seen. But just wanted to let you know that we still have restaurants coming out in freezing weather and getting people sitting outside on the street, walking up and down the street. So we've seen it as being a really positive thing that was thrown together by DOT and has worked tremendously for a number of our restaurants. And I agree with Raina that, and with Josh, that there are a number of these sheds that are just not acceptable. And I'm trusting that as time goes forward, we're going to be able to sort out that. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Mark?
I think it's, there he goes. Mark?
Participant?
Hi. I was going to mention something that I thought I heard last night at transportation, and Christian and I believe Peter were both there too. Did I hear that Colleen, the representative from DOT, talking about making their plans for milling and paving avenues for the coming year? And the reason I mention it is because with all these restaurant enclosures in the street bed, if they mill and pave the avenues, last year Penny and I, by complete accident, caught that they were about to mill and pave the part of Amsterdam Avenue that would have been in conflict with half a dozen restaurants. So we usually we're begging them to mill and pave more. And this year or last year, we were trying to ask them to pull back so that they didn't interfere with the restaurants being able to use the street bed. So I don't know if I heard that correctly, Christian and Peter.
Well, I had left the meeting by that point.
And Doug.
I did not hear anything about that.
Yeah, I didn't hear her mention milling and paving last night, but I could have missed it.
I mean, do you realize that they started to pave Amsterdam Avenue and 78th Street on June 22nd, the first day of the curbside open restaurant seating? I know people who got hit in the head with rocks flying.
Brilliant. Anyway, my only thought is that maybe BCI wants to work with transportation to be proactive about that rather than lamenting it after the fact. That's my only contribution.
I think that that speaks back to the fact that we invite DOT
Right.
to
Yep.
our next meeting and we talk to them.
I would
Because,
tell,
yeah,
I would say that because our restaurant on the east side, we have the, curbside, and they milled the street, paved them, but they just went around us. They didn't have to move anything. We didn't have to, and we had customers sitting out there. This is before we put up our one wall to protect from the cars driving by, but they just did it. And, we bought people drinks so they would stay because we didn't want them to leave. And it was maybe an hour or two, and they just went around our shed. And we were lucky we didn't have to take it down because we had built this monstrosity, and it would have been.
Well, we would like to ask them that what the policy is going to be in the future.
Yeah, of
great
course.
idea.
I
Okay.
mean, we got lucky for sure
And
in that respect.
just chiming in here regarding the milling and paving. I've brought this up for the last couple of years, and Colleen answered the question, but I think it still needs improvement. There is a very long time period between milling and paving, sometimes weeks, sometimes over a month, and you've got bicyclists and pedestrians and motor vehicles that are breaking axles, and bicyclists maybe breaking their neck. And she explained to me there's multiple agencies, there's Con Ed, there's a lot that has to fill in there. But I really think, to mill a street and then have it exposed like that for a month just seems like too long of a period.
Doug, you know why, right? It's because the milling is done by an outside contractor and the paving is done in-house. And the rates at which they can be done are very different. It takes a whole lot less time to pave a bunch of blocks than it does to mill them. So as a result, they try to get a swath done to maximize their own efficiency, which of course creates all the problems for people with walkers and wheelchairs and everything else you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Not to mention, can you imagine sitting curbside when they're paving with the tar and everything? And how that's going to affect dining?
I'm half a block away and it comes in my window, so I can only imagine what the waiter will ask you whether you want fresh pepper and/or
Oh yeah, Urena, we're going to get DOT and DCA here. We have questions.
I just like doing things proactively, that's very, Irena, that's wonderful. Okay. Non-adversarial, just learn what their plans are.
I want to mention something with regard to the enclosed cafes. I'm going back a little bit, but it's actually been, in some people's eyes, a net benefit, and that the enclosed cafes prior to the pandemic obviously have not been seen very positively by many people on the Upper West Side. I personally don't have a problem with them case by case, but ironically, those became more of a liability because they were not considered outdoor cafes or anything part of the street seats. So actually, like the old Artie's Cafe enclosure, or anyone that would be open, wouldn't really have been able to use it other than for the 25% occupancy. It wouldn't have been. So it was really, so a lot of, so the decision, my understanding from the landlord at the old Artie's Cafe was, at this point, get rid of it. They were holding on to it for dear life, and they just, so now it's gone. Yeah, just an interesting
It was a mess.
Antithetical thing that happened.
Yeah, I see there's Cheryl Warfield here. Did you want to speak? And Brian Staub, Gilda Francoise, right? You're visiting, but you're here. It's kind of an open forum, and we always love to hear community.
Oh, well,
opinions.
Thank you. This is Cheryl. Still on camera. I hope I look okay. There you go. Okay, so thank you for letting me speak. In terms of the milling and paving, I would like to bring up one other thought, which and for me, I guess I'm at West End Avenue, 75th, and they did some milling back towards the end of December. That is still to be paved, and the noise is so awful. I live on the 3rd floor, and I hear every car that goes over where they've put the grates, and so that would be another reason to hopefully try to get the milling and paving coordinated more quickly. In terms
Mhm.
open restaurants. I mostly do takeout. I'm more comfortable with that. I'm not really bothered about what's going on right now, with the exception of the fact that there are some enclosements that really are truly now indoor, not outdoor. And so I'm worried about spread with that. But I do agree with Rana that if you could really be visionary in terms of how this is to work in the future, that would be very beneficial for the community. Thank you for letting me speak.
Hopefully it'll be the next meeting and you'll be there.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to make any other comments before we go? Okay, well, thank you to Natalie and Alejandro for the presentation. That's very well received, and we'll meet again next month.
Thank you for having us.
Right.
So much.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night. Thanks,
Good night,
everyone.